All right, well, welcome to the Sports Wrap, Zoom style.
Zoom style.
Who,
Reminds me of the Rolling Stones.
Jeez, who would have ever thought me and you would be recording a TV show? First of all, ever recording a TV show.
Yeah, there you go.
And now we're recording it while we sit on our computers looking at each other this way. And again, we're happy to have everybody along. It's been, well, George, what, about 6 weeks, 5.5
It's 6 weeks. Long time.
Since we've done this, and it's well, there's not a whole lot going on sports wise, but there is a big thing going on, and boy did it get spicy today. Did you see what happened today?
No, but I've been waiting. I've been waiting for something spicy. Give me the news.
Well, here's the deal. I was flipping through the channels today, and at lunchtime, and they were speculating that Rob Gronkowski wanted to get back into the NFL.
And guess what? Get in that?
Guess which team he wants to get involved with?
Minnesota.
Nope.
not New England.
No.
Tampa Bay.
He wants to play for Tampa Bay. So guess what happened?
Why did I not know that?
About 3 o'clock this afternoon, Rob Gronkowski and a 7th-round pick were traded to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a 4th-round pick.
Oh, my Lord.
So here we got Rob Gronkowski. He's the WWE 24/7 champion.
Yeah.
And now he's back in the NFL. So what does that do to his WWE career? I suppose puts it on hold for a little while. But I thought
to go play football with his buddy.
He's going to go play football with his buddy. And so doesn't that make you speculate why he retired the first time?
Well, yeah, you really have.
Why he retired at all?
But I thought, considering the time that they were looking at a lot of head injuries and things like that, and he thought, maybe this is because he was really at the top of his game. The Patriots were at the top of their game. It was a good time to walk.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would say, walk out while you're still healthy, while you still can walk out. But then you get healthy, you get healthier. Your body says, "Geez, I can do this again," and there's well, it's tough to take that competitive spirit out of a person, and they need something to do. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Well, you know what I mean. Hey, it's no freebie banging away for WWE either.
Well,
a lot of bad things can happen there.
That's a different type of OE.
It really is.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. And of course, the draft coming up on Thursday night. And of course, it's going to be done just like we're doing it here, kind of remotely. Yep. and everything else. And at lunchtime, while I was flipping through the channels, I was watching Rich Eisen. I didn't know he was on NBC Sports Network in the middle of the day because I don't usually do that. And they were talking about the NFL draft, and they were talking to John Lynch from the San Francisco 49ers.
He's my man.
And they were talking that they kind of did a mock draft on Monday or Sunday, the NFL did. And so the first thing they supposedly had them do was Dallas traded for the number 1 overall pick from Cincinnati. And so they were trying to see, well, how would that transpire and make things roll around? And could they handle this with drafting and everything coming out? And so with a few tumbles and whatever else, sounds like they're going to be ready to go. So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be different to watch on Thursday night.
It's going to be very different to watch. And there's going to be snags. There's no way that there can't be. I mean, this is tough to hold out, and I mean, I just take a look at right now. When I look up here, Washington has got number 2. So who are they going to pick? Are they going to pick Young? Are they going to pick Towell? I'm looking at that because nobody is going to try to outbid and buy that position. That's not going to happen at this point in time. So I see number 1 and number 2 is pretty much set. If San Francisco could do the other thing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I don't know what this draft. I think that, as you mentioned, the top 2 picks are set. Let's get those right out of the way. Joe Burrows is going to the Cincinnati Bengals. He's going
to Cincinnati.
I mean, unless somebody sells Cincinnati the Herschel Walker farm like the Vikings and the Dallas Cowboys did 30 years ago.
And that wasn't good, Tim.
That was not good for one team. It was really good for another team.
Yeah.
Joe Burrows it will be the number one overall pick, I think, regardless of who picks, who drafts. But I think he's going to be the number one guy. And then Chase Young, I think, is the number two overall pick. You get a guy that who can rush the quarterback and do the things that he can do. So I think the Redskins take Chase Young, and then after that, all heck is going to break loose.
And I mean, for 255 people too, there is going to be, and you toss in 16 or 17 trades and a big Ron that comes back in, Rob comes back into the contest. Hey, a lot of things can get screwed up here. Also, like Tampa Bay, they're not looking for any quarterbacks. Everybody else seems to be grabbing one. They got theirs.
Yeah, they've got their guy, and I think the New York Giants have got their guy, and
no, just who do you think the New York Giants have?
I mean, they got their man Daniel. The man Dan the man. He's the savior. He's going to bring that franchise back to where it needs to be. But I don't believe that, but they believe it, and so if the New York Giants are horrible for the next 10 years, it isn't going to bother Tim one little bit. We don't need New York teams to be good. They got plenty.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
The thing that I see about this draft is, and I don't know if I'm 100% right on this, but I think the Tua thing is who trusts Tua with his injuries, and then they had a thing out on his Wonderlic test the other day. One of the quarterbacks graded at like a 49, which is pretty doggone good.
Yeah.
He graded at a 13.
Ooh, that's not real good.
So I don't know a whole lot about the Wonderlic test, but I know the NFL people for a lot of years that was a pretty big deal. And so to me, do people look at that and say, well, geez, they're not only maybe things aren't right, but physically he's also not right. So do we jump up to number 3 and try to make sure we get him?
No, I don't see that at all, Tim. Besides, I think that there's better quarterback candidates.
That's what I believe as well. But he's a winner, right? He's injury prone, but he's a winner. So
he's fragile.
He's fragile.
It's not just the hip; it's a wrist, it's an ankle. And I mean, theoretically, anyway, the contact gets much more violent in the big leagues. He does move well, and he's got all those incredible skills. I just see him taking some hits.
So what happens at number 3? Do you think Detroit, who's sitting there, and their GM basically said the other day, "Hey, make us an offer. We're willing to move down. We're happy. We think we can find other places to go. So make us an offer that we can't refuse and move up to number 3 and get your guy." And the mock drafts that I looked at, a lot of those had Miami moving up to number 3 to make sure that they get their guy at number 3. They get their quarterback, and some teams think that that's Tua. And well, the person who I think it's going to be is Justin Herbert out of Oregon is who I think it's going to be.
The kid's 6'6". He's 235 pounds. He moves well. They said, what's his strongest thing? The strength of his arm. He can throw the ball a mile and with accuracy and with power. So I think he's very good, especially in a drop back, pocket type candidate. I think Herbert is going to be he'll do real well.
Yeah, I think he's the guy, and if Miami will take him maybe at 5, maybe at 3, he might still be there because I don't think Detroit is necessarily looking for a quarterback, and I don't think New York Giants are looking for a quarterback. So the only reason Miami would move up is because they're afraid somebody else might jump up in front of them and take the guy that they want. So that is something that they're going to have to feel out and test the waters on. But they're kind of the one who's, it wouldn't cost them too much to trade spots with Detroit. You'd move from 5 to 3 and give up a second rounder, third round, whatever, to move up those 2 spots. So it's going to be interesting in that respect. And, I've been doing this for a lot of years, and I finally have come to the point where anybody who can predict, I would say through the top 10 picks, could get all 10 picks right, that's almost as impossible as getting all 63 games right in the NCAA
My
tournament.
guru said, George, nobody knows. And I just thought, boy, that sums it up. But also you have to take a look at Jeff Okuda, because I just know that there's a lot of people in the league looking for defensive backs, and the Minnesota Vikings, they're one of them. So you have to decide, hey, what do they need? Do they need offensive linemen? Like you would say, I really like Josh Johnson, big, strong kid. And how many defensive backs do they need? Well, probably 3. And Lavelle Joseph's gone, and boy, he plugged a pretty good hole up the middle. And there's got to be some kind of replacement for him too. So,
I think they're hoping the guy that they got from Baltimore, and I can't remember his name right now, is going to fill that void for Linval Joseph, excuse me. And so I hope that they're thinking that, this draft. I look at the top 10 of these mock drafts I looked at over the weekend. Lots of offensive tackles, okay? Lots of wide receivers, and not maybe top-end wide receivers, but a lot of them. A lot of wide receivers that you may not see go in the top 10, but maybe 12 through the 4th round, you're going to get some good guys there. So the Vikings, I don't think, have to worry about if they want a wide receiver, and they may, that they don't really have to go up to get one, because they can go find – there's going to be enough at 22 or 25 to get that.
Well, you just ask us, what is the deal? You get rid of Stephon Diggs, and then you pick up a draft pick, and then you draft his brother?
Huh?
I mean, it's very possible.
Yeah. There's so many very, like I said, there's so many good receivers out there that the Vikes can get their guy there. We talked about that they need a cornerback. Well, there's a pretty good number of cornerbacks out there as well. And of course, I mentioned these offensive tackles because the Vikings could use a pretty good left tackle.
They could.
So do you package a 22 and a 25 pick and move up to 10, 8 to try to pick up that guy and do that? I don't think that's what they do, but you definitely could do that and make a splash. It was interesting. Jim Souhan, who writes for the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, I kind of gave up on him because he's like Royce. All they're trying to do is sell papers.
Yeah.
They talk such lunacy some of the times. It's just like, are you even really reporting anything? Or are you just trying to be sensational? But Souhan did a thing the other day, and he talked about picking for need versus taking the best player available.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave a whole bunch of examples. And of course, one of those was Adrian Peterson. The Vikes had a pretty good running back at that time, and yet they drafted him number 7 overall when they drafted Randy Moss 20 plus years ago. They didn't really need a wide receiver, but he was such a freak athlete, could do so many things. And yes, he brought baggage with, which Tim is not a big fan of. But you had to take him because he
could catch the football in the end zone better than anybody I'd ever seen.
So the Vikings, I think that's the biggest thing that they can do. Yes, they need a D-back. Yes, they need a wide receiver. Yes, they need an offensive lineman. So do you sit there and listen to your offers, and maybe somebody comes up with a great offer like Buffalo did for Stephon Diggs? We got a great deal, I think.
I think so too.
No doubt about it. The number of picks we got for him, we would have been foolish not to take the deal, I think.
Well, you got it's a nice draft pick, nice first round draft pick, and and you go from there. Besides, Stephon just really did not want to be here anymore, and
it's we all thought maybe it was the quarterback. We maybe thought it was other receivers that he wasn't getting along with. It sounded like it was coaching staff that was the big problem, and those things happen. So no major catastrophe there. So I just hope that the Vikings take Souhan's advice. And boy, that even scares that I'm even saying that out loud. But I hope that they take his advice and take the best player available, whether it's wide receiver, offensive line, D-back. This kid will never be there. but the mock draft, they talked about this kid from Clemson. He can play safety, cornerback, D-back, linebacker.
Incredible speed. He's got the whole deal.
Isaiah Simmons is his name.
Right.
And when they put him on the position, they didn't even give him a position. They just said defensive player. You know, we've got into an edge rusher, and we've got into all these other things. Now we got a guy that we just call, he's a defensive player. That's how good he is, because he could play your nickel. He could play your inside backer. He could play your outside backer. He could be your, strong safety, whatever, however you want to name him.
Well, when they talked about him and they said, remarkably enough, he really loves to hit. And that's, you kind of like those defensive backs like that. You have to have at least one. And he is so fast and comes on so hard.
Yeah, Ronnie Lott is the first guy that comes to my mind when you talk about that. I mean, Lester Hayes and all these other guys that, they would come up from the safety position. John Lynch, we talked about, come up and put a lick on, and you get a good run at somebody from 15, 18 yards away, and you get to put a pop on them. It makes things interesting.
It does. It really does.
So do you see a player out there maybe that you would go besides maybe the top 2 or 3, Burrows, Young? Is there a guy out there that you're looking at and you'd say, man, I'd just love to have him on my football team? Maybe besides the size.
Yeah, and that guy for me would be Derek Brown.
Okay.
I thought he was the best defensive lineman in this country last year, and and he could really put a smack on you. And he's got good size, 6'5", 3 3/4. I mean, and he moves very well. And so I took a look at him and I thought, he's going around the 9th pick. I thought he could probably go a little bit higher. The other one is Tristan Wirfs. Wirfs, I think, going to be a Pro Bowler someday. If he's a wrestler, Tim.
Hey, why do you like him? I can't figure out.
They says he can fling people. He's off balance all the time. I says he's out there wrestling. He's not playing football. And so it would really be nice to grab a blue chipper like that somewhere along the line. The Vikings going to have to get that. And you can trade for him. I mean, not all these people come through the program, but as I'm going through my list here, I see where's I really do like Justin Herbert. I think he's going to do just fine. His mobility is probably in question. The other one that I like is Jordan Love, the other quarterback, and I think he might be the one that gets picked up by New England.
Okay.
There's a project there. They want, who knows what's going to happen there. And then this guy, CD Lamb, keeps on popping up. And I see him all the time from Oklahoma. And he's one of these, he was a junior from Oklahoma. Good speed, 6'2", 200 pounds, run like a gazelle. And he's going to go to San Francisco. I don't know what they're going to do with him there, but
well, you got to have somebody stretch that defense when you can run the ball so well, right?
Well, this guy can run. He had 24 career catches of at least 40 yards, so he's one of those game breaker type guys. So I think about the kids, the wide receivers from LSU. You talk about the kid from Oklahoma. Clemson had a guy. I mean, the list of wide receivers is phenomenal. They said they've never seen a wide receiver class this deep before, and they were saying somebody's going to get a blue chipper in the 3rd, 4th round. Somebody's going to get a wide receiver that's classified number 20 or 25 out of this amazing class of wide receivers, and he's going to turn out to be a Hall of Famer basically, and it's going to be unbelievable what he is going to be able to do in the NFL. So it's interesting. Well, they're drafting 255 players, and what are they going to invite? Another 150 to the camps? I mean, there is going to be people out of that bunch that's going to make these teams.
Oh,
that's just going to happen.
Absolutely. So, okay, so who do you want the Vikings to pick? Who do you want them to pick? What do you want? Maybe not what player, what position do you want them to draft?
No, I would like to see an offensive lineman. Now, like I mentioned that to the guru, and he likes defensive backs apparently. But I think we really do need a left tackle, and we have to have somebody. And I mean, there's linemen out there that can play both guard and tackle. And I notice a lot of teams shuffling people around. There's guard, tackles, and centers, for crying out loud, that have all these skills. But I like Josh Jones from Houston, and he's has good size. Went to college on a basketball scholarship, or at least to play basketball, and then got bigger.
Yeah,
But
you like a guy that can do that.
yeah, and I saw him going. I saw him going number 22. I really did.
Oh,
I thought that would be the
interesting.
first one that they
How that
would
works
pick up.
out.
Yeah. And then face it, you got to do something with the secondary, otherwise you're going to get killed next year. And they're replacing, well, basically the whole secondary with the exception of two people. And and you just have to count for a lot of that stuff. Plus the coach, he's a defensive man. He's looking at these things. He just has this attitude. I do not see. I mean, everybody wanted to say, "Hey, we're going to get rid of Cousins." Well, that's not going to happen, and I hope not. I look at these people and I say, he's ranked number 4 in the league. You can only get 3 better than that. And the key of it is, like and I know, it's the offensive line that gives you the time to pass, that gives your running backs a time to break through. I don't know what they have in terms of running backs coming back, but you can always use an explosive back, and a couple of these kids coming in, they're a year or so away, but we like running games, don't we?
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think you're right. You hit it on the head. They should draft a lineman, and they should draft a D-back in the first round because of this plethora of wide receivers that are out there. You're going to get somebody good second, third, fourth round. So take your chance and get somebody there. I like that. I like that policy. I don't want to get away from the draft, but while you were talking there, I thought about the rumor mill that was out there the other day, and the rumor mill was that the Vikings were trying to trade with Cleveland for Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh yes, that was a good. And then Cleveland said, "Well, that's just not going to happen," and they gasped in fright.
Apparently, my prayers to the heavens, to the gods, God or gods, whichever football gods or God, whatever way you want to look at it, were answered.
Yeah, I figured you'd probably have some problems with that.
If the Vikings would have picked up Odell Beckham Jr., Tim would have taken his Thielen jersey and he would have put it up for sale, and he would have never cheered for the Vikings ever again.
Yeah, but this is, you keep in mind and don't ever lose faith. Our football team is a lot like Minnesota, and if you take a look at it, I mean, Zimmerman must have been born in Edina. I mean, you see where these guys are. They're so Minnesotan, they're predictable. Now, not everybody can predict them. We can. We are too. And so we can see what they're doing, but they never go. I mean, the biggest risk they ever took was Randy Moss, and that paid off. And
for a while,
his
antics got to be too much to overcome.
Yeah, and they are hard to overcome. He is, on the other hand, in the Hall of Fame. So it's
yes, he is. So what else? What? How long are we going to have to wait for sports to kick back in again?
They had a doctor on from the NCAA.
Okay.
And he was talking about, the question is for college football isn't so much whether college sports are going to start, will the colleges open up? Because the colleges don't open up, there's not going to be a season. He says that the colleges do open up, there'll probably be a season, but there probably won't be any audiences. I watched an Australian rules football game a couple of weeks ago. I'm an expert at it now.
Yeah.
I watched this, and there was no people in the stands. It was just weird. It's, talk about a twilight zone in sports. So I'm not quite sure just how that's going to work out. But first off, we got to get the kids back in school at all levels. When that happens, I mean, we don't even know whether or not the high schools will be opening up in August.
Yeah, Governor Walz put out yesterday that he was doubtful that the schools were going to open back up, and so what does that do for the high school sports seasons? I was talking with somebody this morning, and I'll keep his name out of it. And he was like, Michigan decided that they were going to push all their spring seasons to summer seasons. They're going to have them start in June and go that route. And that's a possibility. I
It
can see
is.
where the State High School League might say, hey, it's important for us to get our golf season in, our track and field. I know baseball would probably have to try to do something in conjunction with American Legion, Babe Ruth, something along that line. I don't know if that's at all possible. Lacrosse into that mix. And so, the kids kind of had their time off now, so to speak. And, they're worried about kids being run down. Okay, they do their spring sport in the summer, and the summer runs right into the fall, and the fall runs into the winter, and the winter runs into next spring again. And I know what some people are saying. Well, they're 12 month out of the year athletes anyway. So what's the difference? Well, yeah, you get the summer off and you go compete, but it's a different type of competition. It's a different type of thing.
It is.
And,
Sports are seasonal, and
it's I don't know. Of course, we're both sports guys, and we want to see our sports happening, but I've given up hope that the high school seasons are going to start before June 1st, or maybe even before July 1st. And I think that if it has to wait until July 1st, then I don't think the spring sports I don't think they'll have a 2020 season. I think these track and field meets and everything else will just, have to go away. And it's unfortunate because they've been talking about in the Star Tribune about these kids who are having their seasons cut short, their careers cut short. Number of hits in a career and all this other stuff, and things happen, and it's kind of depressing. But at the same time, injuries happen. Kids might miss a season for whatever reason. So it's all part of what happens.
well, we do feel bad for our kids because we know these kids, and they're a big part of our life, and we want to do the best we can by them, it's a very sorrowful thing. I feel real bad for the kids. I really do. The rest of us can handle this, even me, kind of.
Yeah. One Bronco athlete that I do want to mention is Macy Marcotte.
Yes, Macy.
I don't know how many people saw the article in the Star Tribune. Would be from Monday's sports page, and they did a story on 3 senior athletes who did not win a game during their season. And Macy, with the girls hockey team, they went 20-1, and she spoke real well. I enjoyed the little bit that she had in there. They talked to the
she's a hell of a hockey player.
Quarterback from Minnetonka, some other place, a quarterback and another athlete. And so Macy, like I said, spoke very well and did her thing. And kudos to her for stepping up and being a part of that article. I'm interested how they chose her. Where did that ever come from? So somebody must have done their homework on that. But if you want to take a peek at that article, it was in Monday's Star Tribune. For those of you that are watching, again, a little close to home there for us talking about that.
There was just a couple of things. There was a message out from Medan Hockey Club in Paris, France this week.
Okay.
And it says, our number 13, Lucas de Benedict, will no longer be a Madonna's next season. Author of 47 points in 18 games, he ranks 6th best pointer and 4th top scorer in the league this season. He was nicknamed the Sniper. Congratulations and good luck, Lucas. And then our friend Mike Manassa.
Ah, yes.
He was put on the spotlight over at North Dakota, and they had a great picture of this guy. And
I think he can still play.
Yeah, I tell you what, he looks so big. I thought, and I always said when Mike played for me, I was a very good coach.
Yeah, that's for sure.
When in doubt, he looks fantastic. And you think about all the work we do with all the kids and the way some of these kids turn out, and then you get a guy like Mike. And in fact, that whole team was really special. Chad Magner was another one of mine that was real favorites, and and Zahn and you know, Jared. There was just some really, really good kids on that team. That was
Yeah, the only team, the Bronco team, ever to make it to the state semifinals in football in
Yep.
'93. So, yeah, a lot of that was just before my time. So I'm sad I missed it a little bit. I have I ever told you the story about the 1993 semifinal football game?
well, I was there, but go ahead.
Well, so was I.
Yeah.
That was back when I was going to school at St. Cloud State, and
Okay.
I always made the trip down to the Dome for the games. And of course, they were playing Detroit Lakes,
They sure were.
and of course, International Falls had kind of become a constant in the state football tournament, but also had become a team that lost in the quarterfinals. And so when
I
they
was there
made,
too.
when they made it to the state semis, I was sitting with somebody and I said to them, it was like 5:30 in the afternoon, about the middle of the second quarter, and I had gotten up early and had driven down and watched the 9-man game early, and I was going to school, as I mentioned, and I was exhausted. And I was falling asleep sitting in the stands, and I'm like, I got 90 miles to drive back to St. Cloud. I'm out of here. Detroit Lakes is going to win this football game anyway. I'm out of here. And so I left in the middle of the Bronco football game in 1993, and who would ever guess less than 12 months later, I'd be coaching for the international.
Yes, that you just never know how that works.
Never, ever saw that coming. So there's my connection to International Falls before I was ever here, that I spoke poorly of them, that they could not win, that they weren't going to win anyway. So I might as well just go home and get some rest. So there was one other thing that I saw the other day, I think in the Sunday paper. It was in the opinion page. It was a cartoon, and it was a TV set, and they were like Sports Center or some sports guy, and they were saying, coming up on the Sports Center is going to be the Masters, college football, pro football, NBA, and they kept the Olympics and because everything is going to be going on all at the same time next fall, if things ever get kicked back in.
Now you know why we have all these channels.
How's a person going? I'm going to have to take my wall behind the computer over here. I'm going to have to put up like 6 TVs so I don't have to flip the channels, because there's going to be so much stuff going on. And of course, I claim I'm going to do that every fall anyway, so I can watch college football. But anyway, it's going to be an interesting fall, George. If things kick back in the fall, oh my, but everything's going to be on.
It is.
They're going to have to move. They're going to have to move
Yeah.
college football games to like Wednesday night so you can see everything. Seriously, because they're going to have.
They are.
They're going to have. Well, think about it. CBS is going to put the Masters on in November, right? If it happens, CBS has got to have the Masters on in November.
And
What's
they do
going to
that.
happen? Well, they got to show their college football. They've got NFL football. So how are they going to show all this? What are they going to do? Are they going to have to move the football games to night games so that they can show the Masters during the day, so they can CBS
They can start mid-October and throw baseball in too.
throw the World Series in.
They're going to be Texas, Florida, and Arizona. I'm not sure that's going to work.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing with baseball. If they're thinking about doing what they're doing, boy, it's scary stuff. And of course, I don't want to get try to be medical about this, but it seems like every day I watch the news, something new comes out about this virus. And yesterday I was watching about the thing about blood clots, and that when people are admitted to the hospital now, they are immediately putting them on blood thinners because this virus supposedly causes blood clots so bad.
See, I got that taken care of already.
See, there you go. So, but it's just, I don't know. It's mind-boggling to what this has done to us as a society. Like I said, don't worry about politics or the economy or whatever else. Just thinking of the things that we would do on a normal basis, and we just don't do them.
You know, I'm really kind of a social guy, and what I miss most are me mates.
Yeah.
And my crew, and you know, and I mean, thank God I love my wife, and she can put up with me because we do all right here. But yeah, everybody is just, and I see all those people protesting, and I totally disagree with them, but I understand the frustration. I really do.
Yeah, I absolutely do too as well. I get it. like I said, not to get whatever in this, but I watched the news on Saturday afternoon, and they had some lady on there, and she basically said, I'd rather go through the suffering and possibly die of the virus rather than thinking that I might starve to death because I don't have any money, because I can't work, I don't qualify for unemployment, I haven't got my stimulus check yet. And she said this idea that I don't have the money to pay the bills to go get food or whatever is worse than thinking about having the virus. And I was like, wow, that is,
Yeah, we
that
have
is a
some people.
serious statement.
We have people in desperate straits. There's no two ways about it. And actually, and I mean, I'll be the first one to say, I'm living real good. We're living very comfortably. We can take care of our family and take care of ourselves, and so we're very fortunate to that end. So I'm looking at that. But Tim, I have snuck in some movie watching.
Okay.
And the one movie that I watched was My All-American. Have you seen My All-American?
I have not seen that.
Okay, this is about Freddie Steinmark. He was a member of the 1969 Texas Longhorns, Darrell Royals class, and in 1969 they beat Notre Dame for national championships. Now,
Okay.
this movie, number one, it had great action scenes, a lot better than what you normally see, and how they did that. But there were great action scenes, and Freddie Steinmark was a Hispanic kid that, in 1969, a lot of discrimination stuff's going on, but he was one of the most popular kids in the team, and it turns into a tearjerker from there. But this is the best college football movie I've seen since Rudy. And at the end of the thing, I'm cheering, and at the end of the movie, I got tears in my eyes. Hey, that's what sports programs are for.
Yeah.
But you see, if you see My All-American, yeah, you'll love it. This is watch it with your little boy. You'll love it too.
Yeah, there has been obviously some more movie watching. Of course, James Bond was on this weekend, so I watched a little James Bond. There's nothing wrong with that.
That gets you going.
And but yes, Rudy was on right when this all started. It was on American Movie Classics a couple times. I got to watch probably most of it in the 2 times that it was on. And yeah, there's obviously some great sports movies out there. They've been showing Major League, of course.
Major League is fun. Moneyball, one of my favorites.
And that one I haven't seen. I would love for them to show Moneyball about 12 times because it seems like every time it's on, I've got to watch it.
No, Jonah Hill. I never knew Jonah Hill from nothing, but he's a great actor, and he and Brad Pitt make a great pair.
Oh, and then The League of Their Own, and of course all these sports movies that they've been having on that would normally probably be on this time of the year anyway because it's baseball season and The Natural and all these other ones. And so
speaking of baseball, I got a report today that a guy named A-Rod, maybe you heard of him, and a lady named J-Lo are trying to buy the New York Mets.
Yeah.
And so I had not known that before, but Jennifer Lopez, hey, I think she'd make a really good looking baseball owner myself.
Yes, she would.
She would. Can you imagine? You can imagine a lady that does the extravaganza at the Super Bowl, owning the New York Mets. I wonder if she'd do extravaganzas at the Mets game. Because I'm telling, she'd pack that stadium. They would all come to watch.
They would.
Of course.
Yes, they would. No doubt about that. Yeah, it's interesting to think that that's where they're leaning. Obviously, they were talking. I saw it someplace today that obviously they would need a big group of investors along with them because, of course, A-Rod and J-Lo have plenty of money, but they don't have that kind of money. They're not.
Isn't that something?
They're not those kind of billionaires or millionaires or whatever. But yeah, wouldn't that put an interesting twist? And not that the Mets need any more
interesting twists.
Interesting twists. There's plenty there all by itself, but yeah, that would be very interesting. So, well, does that wrap things up pretty close?
Well, it does, but I mean, I am sitting around wondering if we can't try this again.
Well, I think we could try this again.
Because what's going to happen over the next 3 days?
I think 6 weeks ago when we said goodbye to our show, our fans or whatever, and said we were going to have to put this on hiatus, this hadn't even crossed my mind that this might work, that this could happen, that this.
I never heard of Zoom till a couple of weeks ago.
Exactly. So yeah, we probably should do this again next week and rehash the draft and give our kudos and our guffaws and whoever we need to talk about and go through those things and maybe we'll have some other stuff. Maybe we'll have some good news by then that maybe things are starting to take a turn and maybe we'll have something positive go on with this whole virus thing. George, I think you froze up on me. Are you still there? Yeah, you did. Folks, that's going to wrap it up here for the wrap for this week. Thanks to George and everybody, and Darcy especially for putting this together. We'll see you next time.